In Arrasate, I had 2 weeks of rest. I only planned on staying 1 week, and it's here I owe a really massive thank you to Emma and Anda for having me and putting up with me at the same time. And also a massive Esquerigaslo to everyone else who made the time to see me. You guys are amazing. Eventually though, it was time to go. It was quite a very bittersweet moment, as it felt like this could be the last time I would be leaving Arrasate, yet I was also excited for the road ahead. It was a spectacular ride up to Vitoria-Gasteiz. It was like an autumnal bonanza. The trees were this amazing yellow in color, the earth was wet and you could smell it as well. From Vitoria-Gasteiz, I got a train to Palencia, a town 200 kilometers to the southwest. So, from the train, I watched the mountains disappear behind me from the flatlands ahead. In Palencia, I met Jorge from Warm Showers, and at his place I made a small change to my setup by replacing my 26 by 2 inch rear tire with a slightly bigger 2.2 inch tire, losing the rear mudguard in the process. On the front, I replaced the worn out tire with the old rear tire. I was ready for the winter. It was good to be back on the road again, and surrounding me was this huge, vast, flat, open space, and I started to feel that sense of adventure kicking in again. Ahead of me, looking due east, the dirt trail cut straight through this flat land, and straight into the maw of this gale force wind coming straight out of the west. I didn't ride far that day, and after about 30 kilometers I found a quiet park next to the village of Castromacho. I set up camp, cooked a hot dinner, and I sat there on the grass in my warm jacket, listening and watching the wind in the trees and savouring that moment of total freedom of it all. What a day! The Springboks had won the Rugby World Cup and I was feeling pretty pleased. At a deserted sports centre in Mayorga, I found this calm spot between the sports hall and a paddle court. I was just settling down after dark when suddenly the lights just blazed on, and about 5 minutes later this group of people arrived to play paddle. I don't think they expected to see a guy with a tent and his bicycle that evening, but a smile and a buenas noches and we were all good. Wind continues. It was massively windy last night. Must have been blowing over 50k. Gusting up to 100, I'm sure. Put all the leaflets in. It's collected here by my tent. It was half blowing over. The only reason it's still there is because I was in the tent. I didn't get much sleep that night. And in the morning I found a bakery and I got some sweet pastries for breakfast. It was also a bit colder that morning, so I found a little spot in the sun and I sheltered from the wind while I ate them. After breakfast, I was off again. This is me after 25 kilometers in the cold and it was another cracking day's ride that day, despite the wind and despite the exhaustion. I hit the Camino de Santiago in a town called Reliegos, and I decided to spoil myself with a night in the albergue. While on the Camino, I took advantage of the albergues. They're pretty cheap, you get a bed, there's hot showers, and there's a kitchen to cook. You also meet other pilgrims, and it's pretty cool to share stories with some other people while you're there.
Good morning! Short drive today. I was going to Astorga. The wind is still pumping today, and the forecast is for today. Tomorrow, so I'm going to go over the mountain tomorrow. So let's see. It's pretty cold. It's, yeah, beautiful sunrise. Past Astorga, climbing up the hill now towards Rabanal. Decided to push on. It was clear when these scudding rain clouds hung. Yeah, nice message.
I was in Astorga by 10 o'clock that morning, and I decided to continue as there was so much day left, and I'm so glad I did. The wind was still relentless, but I was starting to enter some really beautiful countryside. I was leaving the flat land behind, and ahead of me I could see this range of mountains. I took my time that day. I was exploring these tiny, picture-perfect villages, and I was slowly gaining altitude, and it felt like the weather was changing every 5 minutes. Sun, rain, relentless wind the entire time. It was when I was approaching the village of Rabanal del Camino, and the wind was so fierce, it took me about an hour to cycle the last 500 meters to the albergue. It was insane.
Buenos dias! Up in the mountains, misty, cloudy, but the wind is gone. Here in the light.
Yes, the wind was gone. Woke up that morning and it was quiet. Had a breakfast and it was an easy climb up to the summit, through the mist, and dropping down the other side. I could see Ponferrada in the distance. I met the brilliant Pablo in Ponferrada again from warm showers, and I stayed for 2 nights. I met his family and friends, and they made it an absolutely brilliant little break from the road. Pablo, gracias.
Back on the road, just left Ponferrada. Pretty icy cold. It's raining. The road is a bit busy. And ahead of us today, got a big climb coming up. Let's see.
This was the first snow of the winter, and I wasn't aware of it, but there was this massive storm coming up behind me. I was taking my time climbing this beautiful section, taking pictures and all that stuff, and as I got to this snow-covered village of Ocebrero, I was pushing my bike through these snow drifts towards the albergue, and this blizzard suddenly hit, and I was so lucky I managed to make it there in time. I met another cyclist up top there, Marty from Barcelona, and after I had a shower, I went down and I met him at the bar for a wine or two.
We start singing also.
Cuando han pasado 2 o 3 o 4 kilómetros me he encontrado en medio del monte, rodeado de nieve, sin ninguna casa, sin nadie que me pudiera ayudar y he pasado pánico, miedo. Esa marcha es a Guardia Civil.
Good morning.
It was another cold and wet start to the day. I was now in Galicia, and ahead of me the road was covered in mist. It was super quiet, and I slowly made my way up the last 2 peaks of the Camino, after which was a long way down into Santiago.
And this is the top. I think it's pretty much all the way down. It's nice.
Marty caught up with me on the way down, and we rolled into Sarria at about midday that day. We were absolutely freezing after that descent through the snow and mist, and when Marty said, "Let's stop here and have a beer," I couldn't resist. We had a beer in the sunshine, warming up, thawing out our feet and our hands, and afterwards we checked into the albergue for the night. The next morning I wrapped myself up really good. I put on a pair of socks, a plastic bag over that, another pair of socks, my wet weather gear, and I thought I was ready for the day that was to come. And sure, it started beautifully. We were rolling through this fantastic countryside, forests, this country trail was spectacular.
Toughest days so far. It's cold, it's wet, it's hot out there. Soaked, can't feel feet, can't feel my hands. About halfway to where I plan to be tonight. I feel shattered.
Marty pushed on ahead of me and I rolled into Santiago later that afternoon, and we met and hugged in front of the cathedral. Marty had finished an epic journey of his own, and it was the end of a small stage for me. I wasn't feeling as excited as the rest of the pilgrims there, and I kind of knew why. Because ahead of me lay what I'd been waiting for a long time. Portugal.